dominant teams, driver struggles, and a new batch of rookies. This week I am doing a mid-season review for the 2025 F1 season, so get ready because you've been summoned to the Steward's office. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Steward's office. I'm Saira and Formula 1 is officially on summer break. We're over halfway into the Formula 1 season now, and the drivers and teams and all the personnel in F1 really are taking a well-deserved break up until the last weekend of August. But there has been so much that has gone on during this first half of the season. So much to chat about and get into. So if you are missing Formula 1 and want to get your fix, I've got you covered with this mid-season review. And I'm going to run through all of the teams and their drivers and have a chat about how they're doing, because some of these teams have just been on an upwards trajectory since the season started. Some of them have really surprisingly gotten pace in the middle of the season. There are teams that are doing way better than any of us thought they were going to, and yeah, there are some teams and drivers who haven't performed the way that we thought they would or were hoping that they would. So let's dive into it. Obviously, I need to start off with our championship leaders, McLaren. Now, they ended up winning the WCC last year, and at the start of that season, I don't think anyone would have called it because they had really struggled. They were struggling to get out of Q1, and they bought a huge upgrades package to the car in the first half of the season last year. And it changed everything for them. They unlocked so much pace in their car that, yeah, they were able to compete with the likes of Red Bull and take the WCC away from them. And that trajectory for them, that amazing race pace that they've had, has just continued until the start of this year, and it has been really amazing to watch. This is a team that has worked insanely hard to bring this car to life. They've got drivers who are very well disciplined and work that car so well. They currently have 559 points in the Constructors' Championship. They've got 11 wins and 24 podiums, and that is an insane amount of consistency from the entire team and from both of their drivers. And I think to win a Constructors' Championship, realistically, you need to have two strong drivers. And don't get me wrong, we have seen in the past, and I think especially with Red Bull, where it can be done with one driver when you have a really dominant car. But it is better to have two consistent drivers who can get those big points every weekend, because should anything happen where a driver doesn't qualify well, or DNFs or DNSs, you've got another driver you know you can rely on. And don't get me wrong, when we look at McLaren's season so far, it's not been the most dominant season that we've seen, especially in recent history. When you look at the likes of Max Verstappen and Red Bull, okay? There are still other teams that have managed to get pole positions and win a race. It's not like it's been pure and utter McLaren dominance, but this is still absolutely amazing from a team that has really struggled over the last couple of years to find really good pace, even though they might not be winning every single race on the calendar right now. That massive lead, 559 points, is amazing, and that speaks for itself. Looking at their drivers, Lando Norris and Oscar, they're both battling it out for the Drivers' Championship, and should either of them win it, right? Because I think right now it's too close to call. They're only like 8 points away from each other, but this is going to be a championship that goes down to the wire for both of the drivers, and they will race each other and race hard. McLaren are letting them battle it out on track. I think the main thing that Andrea Stella is really telling the boys is like, just make sure the cars come home. I don't want you guys to race each other so hard that you get into an accident with each other. We have already had that incident between the two drivers where Lando did DNF from the race because of it. But I think that has taught the team and the drivers a lot as well. I think that is at least a positive you can take away from this. But it is really nice to see that McLaren are just like, this championship is too close for us to give preferential treatment to either driver. We have to let them just battle it out. And either way, whether it's Lando or Oscar winning this championship, we are getting a new drivers' champion, which honestly is so cool to say, because it has been a really long time. Max Verstappen won the championship in 2021 for the first time, and before that, Nico Rosberg, I want to say, was our last new champion, which yeah, that is quite intense when you think of it like that. So it's really nice that we're going to see a new driver crowned champion, and both of them have such brilliant racecraft as well that, yeah, it's really nice to see that that next generation of talent has come through and is able to battle for a championship now. Oscar is leading it, and Lando has cut down that lead by a fair bit. It's only 8 points now, like I was saying. How is the second half of the season gonna go? I don't know. I think it could get a little bit dicey on track, especially as we start counting down the races. I don't think we're in single figures for races left yet. We might be, but I think as we head towards the end of the season, October-ish time and everything, I could see it getting a little bit more dicey, and the pressure is going to mount on both of them. Both of them are going to want that WDC, and it's going to end up being decided right at the end of the season, I think. McLaren will win the Constructors fairly early on. We can all see it happening. But for the drivers, I can see it going down to Abu Dhabi. But let's move on to P2 in the championship. And that is Ferrari, which, you know what, might surprise some people. And it has been an interesting season so far for Ferrari. I wouldn't say it's bad, and I wouldn't say it's their worst season. I think the thing is with Ferrari as a whole, right, whether you're a Ferrari fan or not, and in the words of Sebastian Vettel, everybody is a Ferrari fan. But I think there's a lot of expectation on Ferrari to perform well, even though, right, I admit it's been a couple of years since they won a Constructors' Championship and a couple of years since they won a Drivers. But there is this really weighty expectation on Ferrari, regardless of how they've performed the previous season, that expectation to perform well and to be fighting for a championship. And I think from what I've seen and what I've experienced, when that expectation doesn't hold up, which it hasn't in a couple of years, that team feels it harder than a lot of the other teams from the media and everything, and specifically Italian media. But yeah, they're P2 in the championship. They've got 260 points, so you can see the huge difference between Ferrari and McLaren right now. But they have got 5 podiums, they've got a pole position, as well as a sprint pole and a sprint win. So it's not been an awful season. What I think for Ferrari has been their saving grace is that they've benefited from other teams being worse than them. They have benefited from Mercedes sometimes having engine issues and having a rookie in the car, and from Red Bull having that problem with their second driver still, and the car not even being to Max's liking this year. And that is where Ferrari have managed to scoop up points on race weekend to chuck them into P2. Consistency-wise, we are struggling with a level of consistency for Ferrari, and look, they bought a new, I think it was a front wing to one of the last races, and also a new rear suspension to one of the last races, and it was a much awaited upgrade. There was a lot made of it in the media beforehand, and there were rumours it was going to bring them a 10th of a second in race pace, and that's not materialised anywhere on track, really. We've seen glimpses of the car being better. There's a chance that it just could be in a really small setup window for the car, but I don't think it's really brought them the impact they were hoping for. Looking at both of the drivers, and we will kick off with Lewis Hamilton, who, new driver to the team, and has had a really rough first half of the season. He is trying to adjust to a new team and a new culture and a new car, a new engine manufacturer, and that is a lot when you've been embedded in a different team for over 10 years. I can't imagine the process of unlearning what you already know, learning a new team, and then also helping them to improve. You know, there's no sort of period in Formula 1 where a driver changes team and can just slowly settle in. Yes, you'll have like TPC testing and everything, and you've got your actual testing days at the start of the season, but that's not a lot of hours, and then suddenly you are chucked into a race car on a racetrack and expected just to perform on a Grand Prix weekend. Now, Lewis is yet to get a podium with Ferrari, which is something that he's really been aiming for the last couple of races as well, and he's been close. You know, races like Silverstone where he's finished 4th and it's looked really positive, but there have also been moments throughout his Ferrari career so far where it has been difficult to watch and he's not gotten out of Q1 or Q2 or failed to score points. I don't think it's all bad, and I think the media has had it with Lewis, and I think like Ferrari, where the expectations are super high, and when they aren't met, it's like the world is on fire and everyone run to their battle stations because the world is now ending. And it's not, because I think we do forget that in China he managed to get a sprint pole and then converted that pole into a win, and that was very early on in the season. That was like the second or third race, I want to say. And his last win, okay, it has been a little while, but it was the British Grand Prix 2024. There are drivers that have gone without a win for much longer, and drivers that are yet to get their first win. So do I agree with it when people are saying he's washed and he needs to retire and all the rest of it? Absolutely not. Do I think there needs to be an improvement in performance? Yeah, of course. The hope is that summer break is a chance for him to reset and come back fighting for the second half of the season, but we will wait and see. Charles Leclerc, on the other hand, has had a much better season than his teammate Lewis. He has scored all 5 of the podiums for Ferrari. He got that amazing pole out in Hungary. It has been a lot better for him in terms of getting those podium positions, but neither of the drivers are too happy about the car, right? Let's be honest. How can I forget the double DNF from the Chinese Grand Prix because the plank wear was too much? Neither driver is happy with the drivability of the car or the communication the team is giving to them on race day. So there's a lot to iron out. New regs coming in 2026 that you would hope Ferrari have a better handle on, but yeah, it's not looking too great so far, but still P2. P3, Mercedes with 236 points. And when I look at it, and the stats are like 7 podiums for Mercedes and a win from them, you have to wonder how Ferrari have leapfrogged ahead of them into P2, but a lot of that is coming from George. And that's not a problem to me because Kimi Antonelli is a rookie, but I think that's why, because even though Lewis hasn't had a great season in Ferrari, him and Charles are fairly consistently still scoring points. But I'll get on to the drivers. Now, the car itself, it's no word of a lie, and it's not a secret that Mercedes has struggled with the 2022 regulations quite badly. They couldn't really understand them very well to produce a decent race car. And it seems like in 2025 we've had the same thing, because Toto Wolff was saying they'd bought a new suspension to the car that was meant to improve race pace, like most upgrades are meant to, and it actually made the car slower. So they did take that suspension off and go to old spec. But it does feel like we're at a stage again with Mercedes where they haven't been able to understand what to do with these regulations, because to bring an upgrade to a circuit and it not work is disappointing for their fans as well, but also disappointing for the team because it's not bringing them anymore. The drivers though, let's have a chat about them. George Russell, you know what? He's made the best at the situation he has with the current car. It's not been wonderful, the car, but George has extracted as much as he can. To have the podiums that he has, the win that he has, I think he will be happy-ish with his performance, but he would have wished for more with a better car. I think the main thing that is hanging over George Russell at the moment is all the contract talk. And right, Max is no longer an option for Mercedes, but I do find it weird that neither of the drivers has signed a contract with the team yet. It is strange to me, and I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. He is not happy with the contract negotiations. I don't know whether he is wanting a longer contract or more money or whatever it is. And by the sounds of it, the rumours are saying it's the length of the contract. I think he's been offered a 1+1 deal. He wants longer. He wants like a 2 or 3 year contract set in stone, which at the moment Mercedes haven't been too forthcoming with, but we'll wait and see what happens there. But for Kimi Antonelli, who is one of the rookies and was the most talked about rookie coming into this season, it's been really hard for him. He definitely has had some absolutely amazing moments. He had the podium in Canada and the sprint pole in Miami, which I think really proved to people why Mercedes had gotten him into their junior academy and then pulled him into that F1 seat so early. But I think it's been very evident throughout this season so far that it's just been difficult for him to get to grips with the Mercedes F1 car, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing on him. As a rookie, it's going to take time, and first half of the season he's also been balancing F1 with his schooling and trying to finish his final year exams. He had a period where he wasn't scoring points for quite a while, a period where he was DNFing, and I think the key thing for Antonelli more than anything is just rebuilding his confidence into the second half of the season, because if Mercedes have a better car next year, I want to see him extract everything out of it. And I know he won't be able to do absolutely everything, but I want him to have that confidence in the car to push it. So I'm really hoping that Mercedes and, you know, his parents and his other half can help just build up his confidence going into the second half of this season. Moving on to Red Bull Racing, who are in P4, and what a start to the season it has been for this team. Obviously, the biggest news for Red Bull is the fact that Christian Horner no longer works with the team after, I think, 20 years since the team first came onto the F1 grid. He's no longer a part of the team anymore. And I think for Red Bull now, there is going to need to be a period of adjusting to not having his leadership style there and getting used to Laura Mekies' leadership style, and him also getting used to the team. But fourth in the constructors is a bit of a fall from grace for Red Bull, and don't get me wrong, they didn't win last year, but when you look at them since the 2022 regs came in, I don't think anyone was expecting us to get into the last year of these regulations and to have Red Bull in fourth place. And there are a lot of things that contribute to that, and the first one being the car is not great when the three drivers that have driven the Red Bull car have not been happy with it. There is, like I said, Christian Horner leaving and now having to adjust to that change. And there is that second driver issue that Red Bull has consistently had for a number of years. They started the season off with Liam Lawson, had him for 2 races, 2 of them, and then booted him out of the seat. And that still baffles me, because 2 races I don't think is enough for any driver to prove that they deserve a seat. But also, if you were lacking that much confidence in him, you shouldn't have put him in that seat in the first place, because it's done more damage to him and his confidence at the end of the day. But they put Yuki Tsunoda into the car, and I mean, to be completely honest, at the moment he's not doing much better either. Now, I'm hoping, right, with Laurent Mekies, who Yuki was with before the move happened, that Yuki might have a little bit more confidence and have someone advocating in his corner a little bit more, and that might help. There are already rumours of him not having a seat for next year with Red Bull. They won't re-sign him. They'll bring Liam Lawson or Isaac Hadjar, I think, is the main person in the running. They'll bring Isaac up. Liam will stay in VCARB, and they'll bring Arvid Lindblad up from F2. So signs aren't looking great right now, and I think part of it is going to be dependent on what happens in the second half of the season for him. And look, for Max Verstappen, who is still carrying a lot of the weight of the team and the points that they have, right? And he has done a very good job. He's had 2 wins this year, 6 podiums, which is not bad, but compared to the last couple of years for Max, this has not been the best season, and it's really lacked in terms of wins and podiums and laps led and pole positions and everything. He is definitely unhappy with the car, and Max has been vocal before about the car not being great, and we heard it last season. This season I feel like it is a little bit more, like there is a lot more that he is unhappy about. He has though confirmed that in 2026 he's staying with the team, which is really going to help Red Bull, let's be honest, but he's not happy with the state of the car, and he is not winning a Drivers' Championship this year. I think that is pretty clear. He's 3rd in the championship, but I don't think anyone's expecting him to win it. Now, I had to triple check the F1 website for the next team, right? Because Williams are in P5 in the Constructors' Championship, which I don't think a lot of us were expecting at the start of the season, but they had such a strong start right at the beginning of this season. The car worked really, really well. Alex Albon in particular just seemed really happy with it and really comfortable with it. I feel like more recently they have lost a little bit of that pace. They have struggled to qualify well, they have struggled to finish in the race well, but that early crop of points that they had has helped them cushion that 5th place. And it's not like all their pace has gone either. They still do have decent pace. It's just not as good as what it was, is all. But they've put in some absolutely amazing performances that have had them finish in the top 5 in a Grand Prix, which is so impressive from James Vowles and the entire team. And like I said, for Alex Albon, he in particular has been really, really happy with this car. And yes, there have been points more recently where he's not been too impressed with the state of it, but it's just been a really impressive season from him. And I think this season in particular, a lot of people were looking at Alex and wondering how he was gonna do next to a very good and experienced driver in Carlos Sainz, who is a multiple race winner and a pole sitter and has driven for some massive teams. And how is Alex Albon gonna do next to him when he's had drivers next to him in Williams that haven't always been amazing? They've been rookie drivers, and we know with Nicholas Latifi and Logan Sargent, compared to Alex, they weren't amazing drivers. But I think Alex has really held his own against Carlos, and we will see in coming seasons, because for Carlos this is a new team and it does take a period of adjustment to get used to it, and he hasn't been exactly happy with the car and fully comfortable with it, and I think he's trying to learn the limits of a new car. But I don't think it's been absolutely awful from him. I think there have been moments where he's proved that he can drive this car really well, and it's just settling into it and getting used to it. And then we have Aston Martin, and look, this is another meh sort of season for Aston Martin, because I don't really know how else to explain. The fact that Williams are ahead of them, I think, is saying something right now, but it has been a season from Aston Martin again where they can't find consistency. And look, they brought a big upgrade in towards the end of the first half of the season, like a lot of the teams had, and it did actually seem to bring them a lot of pace. The question is, will that carry on into the second half of the season now? And for that, I genuinely could not tell you. And look, both of the drivers are actually on equal points right now. They both have 26 points apiece, but they're not overjoyed by the car, which is understandable. 26 points and 6th place in the Constructors' Championship, not great. Fernando especially has not been happy with the car. His radios do make me laugh, but I can also understand his frustration. Like I said, I can't tell whether it'll get better in the second half of the season, but if you look at the general pattern, it seems to gear towards no. But it'll be interesting in 2026 with Adrian Newey there as well. Kick Sauber. Was I expecting them to be in 7th place? No. Am I glad that they are? Absolutely. Oh my gosh, am I so excited for Kick Sauber, who have had a season, or a start of a season, that nobody was expecting. The start of the season was a little bit slow for this team, and that's fair enough, but whatever they have done to the car is working so well for them. And look, Nico Hülkenberg ended up getting his first ever podium at the British Grand Prix, which was so special to watch, and it meant so much to him and the entire team. And yeah, a really, really beautiful moment. And I think he's really had the chance to shine this year, and that podium and all of the points he's managed to get so far has really shown why he's been on the grid for so many years. And then his rookie teammate Gabriel Bortoleto, who also, like the team, had a bit of a slow start to the season and had a few incidents here and there, and qualifying wasn't amazing. But more recently is out-qualifying Nico Hülkenberg, is finishing ahead of him in the race, scoring great points for the team and having this consistency that from a rookie is so impressive to see. And it's no surprise given Gabriel Bortoleto's racing history, because like Oscar Piastri, he won F3 and F2 in his rookie year. So it's just amazing to see that talent being transferred to Formula 1, because it doesn't always happen. So it is great to see. Visa Cash App, Red Bulls in 8th place. They've had a bit of a roller coaster of a season so far. Really, really strong start to the season, and we got towards the end of the first half coming into summer break, and some of that pace seemed to be lost. It has been harder for them to get into the points and compete with the other cars around them more recently, but for Isaac Hadjar, he is one of the standout rookies for me so far this year, next to Gabriel Bortoleto. He had a really awful start to his Formula 1 career and had a did not start in Australia, so he couldn't even drive his first Formula 1 race, but kept his head up and kept calm and kept his head down in all the pressure of the races and racked up those points, and is yet to exit in Q1. Like, that is insane as a rookie to say that. He should be so impressed with his own driving at the moment, and you know the team are, and you know the media are, if they're saying, oh, Isaac should be in the seat for Red Bull next year. Please no. Please just leave him alone in VCARB to grow and learn there. Please don't put him in the Red Bull yet. But I think part of what is allowing him to have these performances is the fact that you have a driver who is just enjoying his Formula One experience, as he should. I think when you let yourself enjoy it, and of course there is discipline and work that needs to be done, but you also have to enjoy it, right? And when you do, it allows the driving to become a little bit easier. At least that's what I think, because I think that in most things in life, when you don't overthink things too much and you allow yourself to enjoy them, things just get a little bit easier. But his teammate, Liam Lawson, teammate from race 3, came in from Red Bull, and it was going to be a real confidence building activity for him. And it does feel like it slowly happened for Lawson, and I am glad, because I think 2 races in Red Bull and being booted out would dent anyone's confidence, but you can tell that he is building himself up again, and it's showing through the race results and the qualifying results. And I know that move from Red Bull was probably demoralising for him and probably hurt a lot, but I do think in the long run, for his F1 career, this is probably a really good thing for him. Moving on to Haas, who I am slightly disappointed in that they're in P9, because there have been moments where the Haas car has looked so good. We've had great races from them, from both of the drivers. Then we get to races where it's been more of a struggle, and those struggles just keep compounding, leaving them in 9th place. The thing with Haas is that they do have 2 new drivers in their car, 2 drivers that are getting used to the team. For Esteban, he's having to unlearn things from other teams he's been in and with Alpine. And for Ollie, I mean, it's his first ever F1 team that he's having to get used to. So I don't think that either driver is doing a bad job, but it's also not the best and most consistent car right now. And then finally we have Alpine, who are just doing Alpine things. Jack Doohan having 5 races with the team and then being kicked out and being left as a reserve and test driver. Colapinto coming in and really not doing much better. The team are in last place. Pierre Gasly's doing the best he can. I think it's not just a driver thing. I'm not blaming Colapinto or Doohan for not doing well. That car is not easy to drive. Flavio is currently in charge of the team. He is their team principal now as well, and I have a feeling he has put a lot of pressure on both of the rookies that have been in that car. Realistically, do I see them moving from 10th place, potentially into 9th, depending how Haas do? Do I see them getting any closer to the likes of VCARB and Sauber, who, have had really good races and results? No, I don't see that happening right now, especially with a lot of the teams moving focus into 2026. But we'll see how the rest of the season goes for them. Now, before I finish this episode, I'm gonna just go through some of the responses that I had about what people's most memorable moment has been from this season so far. And I'm not surprised the majority of people were like, Nico's podium was the absolute highlight for them, which I get. I think it's the absolute standout part of this season so far for me as well, because it's just such a nice moment to see, and it really is what Formula One's all about. Other things have been the Lego race, like the drivers' parade in Miami with all the Lego F1 cars. Absolutely agree, that was so cool to watch. I would love for them to bring it back, but I also understand it takes a lot to build them, and then the drivers crashing in them is not great. And someone else had also mentioned Lewis's sprint in China, his pole position and the win there, which genuinely was incredible to see, because even though it's not a Grand Prix win, still is a first win in red for him. And also Charles' pole in Hungary, which genuinely, took everyone by surprise. Nobody, not even Charles, was expecting that. But that is my mid-season review. I will be back at, it's going to be in September now that I'll be back for the Dutch Grand Prix, because I'm going to take a little bit of a summer break as well from the podcast, guys. You can still find me on TikTok and Instagram and Threads at stewards_office if you're looking for more motorsport content. I'm still going to be posting on there. Just taking a little break from the podcast. But thank you guys so much for listening. Diolch yn fawr, and I will see you guys next time you're summoned to the Steward's office.